Meet Arnold, a regular, ordinary kid just like you. His school is run by a bully who's also in love with him.
It's love, love, love!
He lives with his grandparents in a boarding house full of crazies. He's got a remote control for his whole room. And he has a football-shaped head, just like you, right? Look for Hey Arnold on home video, only from Nickelodeon, even if you don't have a football-shaped head.
Good morning, football heads. This is Big Orange Couch, the 90s Nickelodeon podcast, where we talk about all things 90s Nickelodeon. My name's Joey.
I'm Andrew.
And Brett is here once again.
Ooh, consecutive guest appearances. We couldn't get enough. we did get a few comments of like interesting that you had Brett on for a Salute Your Shorts episode he didn't like.
Oh.
I'm like, that's I love it when that happens. Like that kind of happened too with Melissa on Renegade Virus, where it's like, oh, you don't even think to ask, do you like this? Because you just assume.
I thought it was a little weird. I've never really talked about being a big Salute Your Shorts fan, but
yeah, but I think we really want to get our friends back in here.
Yeah, and I like to hear anybody's takes on anything.
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. But when we said we were doing our Hey Arnold, and you're like, oh yeah, like I would know it. It's like, well, why don't you just come on back?
Now they're making me prove it.
Well, this is episode number 236. We're, of course, talking our top favorite Hey Arnold episodes.
How is that? 236 episodes to talk about our favorite Hey Arnolds.
Yeah. Today, suddenly, it, occurred to me. I was like, did we do this already? So I started going through the old episodes, but
I had the same feeling when I was making my list, especially because I had to dwindle down. I came with I dwindled to about 20 segments that I was like, okay, this could be in the running. Too many, too few.
Yeah, I think too many.
Oh, okay.
I mean, for me.
but every time I'd go to an episode, I'm like, we had to do this. But I think it's just because we did so many variety of favorite favorite sports, so I think we're finally here, and I'm excited that maybe we'll talk about some episodes we've not given as much love.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I know I've definitely talked about on this podcast my favorite episode.
Really?
Yeah, but I don't remember the context. I don't think it was a Hey Arnold episode. I think I just kind of threw it in there.
Okay. Someone out there is like, I already know Brett's favorite. This is so stupid.
Well, this I had something to say that's somewhat relevant to last week. Shortly after we did last time's episode, I watched this C-slasher movie called Cutting Class. It's with one of Brad Pitt's first starring roles. But what's interesting about it is, as I was watching the credits roll, I'm like, oh, that written by name sounds really familiar. It was Steve Slavkin.
Wow.
Of course, the creator and voice of Dr. Khan, creator of Salute Your Shorts.
Yeah.
Pretty bizarre.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it was
This was pre-Salute Your Shorts, this movie?
Yes, by a couple of years.
Okay.
Not necessarily something I'd run out and see, just if you can, appreciate, bad 80s horror movies.
Yeah.
What was the name of the movie?
It's not bad. Cutting Class.
For some reason, I thought you said camp cutter, and I was going to be like, no way he did 2 camp things. I mean, probably.
He did camp nothing.
But there is like a creepy janitor character that's like sort of put me in mind of Zeke a little bit.
Like floating around in there somewhere.
Saying weird stuff.
Yeah, creepy janitor is a good... It is kind of a good character because there's that janitor in the Pete and Pete episode of Don't Tread on Me.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
one
it's
who
great.
failed.
Sure.
Yeah.
Especially as a kid, it's like you don't know anything about the janitor's life.
Yeah.
So he's a bizarre character, kind of.
Side tangent, but I think I was just talking to Brett that custodian is my dream job.
You are.
Dream job.
You really
Dream.
are.
Think about it.
I'm not saying it's bad.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I think it's attainable.
Oh, for sure. I could definitely leave my job right now.
You went like a step further, and you wanted to be a nighttime janitor. Like,
Yeah, I want the like
No
3
one
o'clock
there.
to 2 a.m. Nobody bothering me. Put my headphones on, listen to my music and podcasts.
buffing
Wouldn't
floors.
be bad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a solitary job, and I like cleaning.
I would get worried it'd be too solitary. Not like for my enjoyment, but just
Yeah,
I'd be so completely separating myself from
yeah.
the rest of reality.
And I wonder if the repetition is eventually wears off.
Probably.
Yeah, I gotta clean this toilet again. I don't know. If there's any custodians out there, I salute you.
It's probably like a Groundhog's Day situation where you start to really enjoy it.
Yeah,
You know, years like 5 through 10, you're loving it,
get so good at it that it's like.
and then you just start snapping.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're here to talk Hey Arnold, of course. And one thing I threw out was maybe before we jump into our episodes is talking about maybe who some of our favorite characters on Hey Arnold
Sure.
are. Andrew, is there anybody that stands out to you?
Yeah. The first couple that came to mind were Oscar, one of the tenants.
Oh yeah, he's number 2 on my list.
So good. But the very first kid, for some reason, that popped in my head is called Steve. It took me a while to figure this out.
Long nose?
He's like a weird kid that shows up in the backgrounds of a lot of episodes.
Okay.
But he's just so bizarre, like looking and acting.
I don't know who you're talking about.
I might refresh your memories as we.
Wow. Okay.
Come along here.
There's a Steve heavy episode.
I wouldn't exactly call it heavy, but it briefly appears. Just so strange though. It's like he's purely a background character, and I like wouldn't necessarily notice him, but just so bizarre looking in it.
Oh, okay.
We're looking now. We're looking. Sure.
He's just great. Like really stands out in any scene that he's in.
Does he ever have lines? I
don't think he has a line. It claims somewhere that he was voiced by the creator, Craig Bartlett, but I didn't catch him saying anything.
Okay, he has his own wiki. So does his mom. Yeah, he is voiced by Craig Bartlett. He's most prominent in the episode The List, where he appears. What?
Is that one? Is that
Oh, maybe.
But he's in a bunch of episodes. I mean, Sally's Comet, The Big Scoop, Krabby Author, Career Day. So he's in a bunch of these, including the movies.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, weird.
Steve.
Very weird.
Right. I was not expecting
Interesting character.
that. Yeah.
Oscar, I get. Steve, I don't know.
Brett, do you have any picks?
Well, my favorite character is the grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah,
Just
of course.
perfect.
Yeah.
So good. Always funny. Love his relationship with both the grandma and Arnold, and his general contempt towards Oscar. Just constantly yelling at him.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great character. Some of the best lines in the series,
Oh,
I feel
for
like,
sure.
come from Grandpa.
Yes. Yeah, Grandpa and Grandma were kind of my first inclination. I think they're kind of matched. They bring slightly different things. They're both kind of crazy, but Grandma a little crazier. But I think it's a different show without them. Yeah. The other character that came right to mind of like I love the episodes where this guy pops up is Coach Wittenberg.
Oh, sure.
He's good. Pass the ball to Tucker, where he's the bowling coach. He reminds me a lot of, what's his name from Home Movies?
McGurk.
Coach McGurk.
McGurk. Yeah. He's got a lot of McGurk tendencies where it's like this like kind of depressing home life matched with, coaching. So I really like him. And of the kids, I think Gerald's probably my favorite. But
Gerald's great. All the pretty much main kids, whatever, are all great and all very distinct.
Oh yeah.
One of the things that makes Arnold. No, I think they all hold, even the ones that like wouldn't be my favorite person necessarily.
Right.
Like, is
I don't like Harold.
Sure.
No. But I like that character exists.
Yeah.
And it's like a good portrayal of that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, do we want to jump into it?
Sure.
We got potentially 15 different episodes. Yeah. We did our top fives, close call. You got a Ferguson?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Actually pick one.
Okay. Interesting. I did not pick one.
Okay. Yeah, I got one. And it's not up for debate. All right, Andrew, you want to kick us off?
My number 5, Sally's Comet. Season 1, episode 16.
All right.
We get a little Steve in there.
Yeah. Steve briefly makes an appearance. Actually, I remembered that I had seen him somewhere in these episodes that I was watching. I'm like, so I was going back through. I'm like, where was it? And he just barely appears on the street in this one for like 1 second.
I can't see any stars.
You want to see stars, eh? You'd have to turn all the lights off in this whole dead-blasted city to see them. It's too bright out here.
Hey! Turn off your lights! Hey, everyone! We want to see the stars! Turn off your lights!
Anyway, great episode. It's about Sally's Comet is coming, and Arnold and Gerald are trying to save up box tops so that they can get a telescope so they can see it. But once they get the telescope, they discover that the city's far too bright to be able to see anything in the sky. And so they finally end up at the radio station, and we get to see in this episode what the DJ looks like on the jazz station, which is kind of interesting. And finally they use the radio station to convince everybody to turn off their lights just in time to see the comet. This is something about that's common to these early episodes, I think, is this slightly slower pace where they're just kind of doing things. Like the cereal scene is maybe a minute or something. I mean, it goes on for a little while. It just feels like they're taking their time to let the stories play out a little bit, and it to me creates a sensation of more of a feel for these episodes rather than being totally driven by a complicated story. It has a very particular just sensation to watching it. I feel like anyway, great episode. It looks great. All these early episodes look so good, and the backgrounds especially.
Yeah.
God, those look good. It's also takes place a lot at night and looks great.
Yeah.
Which is tough with animation.
Nighttime Arnold in general just looks very nice.
Yeah. Anyway, great. I've just always kind of loved this one. I always think of the scene where they're eating the cereal and just they've got every kid in the neighborhood in their kitchen trying to eat the cereal as fast as they can.
Yeah.
Just a real kid centered imagery.
Yeah.
Anyway, not a big episode, but it just feels so nice to me. Just going through this and going after this kind of something that anybody could potentially get involved in, seeing a comet.
I also feel like as a kid, there was always those items that you needed to collect things for to get.
Yeah, yes.
And you did consume a lot of candy bars or fast food to try to get these.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like rally friends together and be like, you gotta eat these.
Yeah.
Get these box tops, send them in.
Yeah, I don't know how common it is today. It did seem like back then that was a more common thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, just one of those episodes that always comes to mind for me and really feels good and looks great. And really captures the early Arnold feel.
Love that one. That's my number 23.
Wow. I mean,
Hey, we're only 18 off.
God, okay. All right.
All right, Brett. Number 5.
Number 5 for me is The Baseball. And in this episode, Arnold finds out that his baseball hero, Mickey Kaline, is ending his career.
Yeah, it's a long fly ball. You gotta hold on that one. That ball is finished. And the ball is caught by a little boy with a football-shaped head.
Hey, that's Arnold.
Arnold caught the ball.
And look at that weird little kid run.
I don't know if I have as much to say about it as Andrew just did with Sally's comment. But for me, it's just a great episode. I love any episode that romanticizes baseball. And I love how the stadium looks.
Yeah.
It looks real
It's like a
tall.
rectangle.
It just looks enormous. And I think as a kid, I also thought that the baseball fields were huge. And now as an adult, they don't seem so big. But
Yeah.
loved that, and I loved the ending when he's just tossing the ball back and forth, talking about baseball with his hero.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is kind of a great, sweet episode. And it really does kind of reek of childhood, of like, I don't know, this mythic figure in your neighborhood for your sports team that everybody wants to get behind, and going to the big event, going to the game, and something cool happening.
Yeah. Also, one thing I love about Mickey Kaline as a character is he's not presented as like this impossible, like
Unreachable
perfect.
star.
Yeah. He's like
Maybe too reachable. Arnold just walks right into that stadium. In fact, there's like a valet standing there that like waves his hand, like, walk on into the stadium.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't feel like bigger than life.
Yeah.
Feels like he could be a real character.
Yeah, they do that interview with him at the end, where, they're saying, like, it was your last game, you had a home run. And I don't know, just the way that whole interview is done is just so, like, real. Like,
He's getting choked up.
yeah,
and,
yeah.
yeah, really great. Is that a first season episode?
Yeah, almost all of mine are first season.
All right. I thought that one was one that looked really
I think
great.
it might be. It's the first segment of either the second or third episode.
Yeah.
And that has nothing to do with why I chose it first.
No.
I didn't just go down the line and let the computers that way.
But these first season episodes the backgrounds are so detailed. I love it. It's just like, I don't know, you just really get the feel for wherever you're at.
Yeah. Big chunk of my list is first season. Wore my Mickey Kaline shirt.
I didn't even notice. Wow.
Brought to you by Nick Box, which no longer promotes us, so buy it or don't. I don't care. But I gotta love it. Yeah.
534 home runs.
I've never even read it. What's it say here?
534 is home
Career
run
home
record.
runs.
So he saw his 534th home run. Yeah.
I'm not sure what this Chet is.
Quigley Stadium's finalist.
Oh, that's funny. Chet.
I don't know.
Okay.
I wonder if that's like
Must be a later episode. Maybe.
a brand or something.
Maybe Dangerous Lumber. Yeah. All right. Well, my number 5 is also a first season episode. We've discussed it on our 69th episode of the show. That is an episode called Heat.
Yeah.
It's 7 o'clock on MJazz. And here's the weather report. As if you didn't know, we're still in the middle of a heat wave. Today's going to be another scorcher, cats and chicks. Look for highs in the low hundreds. Above all, try to stay cool.
Synopsis here: a heat wave hits the city, and Arnold and Gerald try to find a way to get cool, which is nearly impossible considering long lines at the theater, crowded pools, and the jolly alley man charging $20 for a snow gun. I think we've discussed this on multiple levels of it being a great episode of Arnold. Also a great summer episode. It's got that kind of like Pete and Pete hot. Just
you can feel it.
Yeah. What are we gonna do with ourselves?
The colors that they use, like it just feels.
Yeah. And I love the wandering of the city of like just looking for refuge. Like what are we? I mean, even though we didn't grow up in like apartments or things like that, like that feeling of like just walking around, being like, it's so hot. There's nothing to do. We don't want to sit inside, but like, what else do you do?
I do love the unbearable heat episodes of everything.
Yeah.
And I think about this episode quite frequently because I have to walk to a little convenience store a couple blocks away from my house to buy bags of ice.
Yeah.
And I always think about like walking back when they're like walking back with the ice. Yeah. And like by the time they get home, like the last bit is melting. They're like,
that and you like overturning ice cream trucks.
Yeah.
That's the only part of the episode that I think like gets a little out of control. Is this like tipping the ice cream truck like this?
I mean, they've had
but it's like they had to figure out a way to reach that like tipping point for everybody.
Yeah, I get it. It's a. I mean, if it's in my top 5, I think it's pretty much perfect. So, love this episode.
Yeah, fantastic.
I do want to say that this was also Nikki's favorite episode of the show. Kind of tied, she said, with Snow, which great.
Snow is also great. Agreed.
There's very few times in Nickelodeon where we have two segments paired where it's like, oh, that was a smart pairing.
Yeah.
But obviously a wonderful pairing here.
My number 4 is Gerald Comes Over. Also season 1. This is Arnold starts out at Gerald's house, so like we get to see Gerald's family, but then Gerald comes to stay at Arnold's house, so they just like end up walking through trying to collect rent from everybody. And that's the basic premise of it, but it's so good. Like it's another one of these episodes that's like not so worried about the story being like this complicated, interesting thing. It's just like holding it together. And I just kind of like love like that there's not just like a through point, like beginning to end. Like it's just more about what they're doing throughout the episode. So I also love that we get to see Gerald's family a little bit in this one, kind of introduction. But then the introduction to each boarder at the boarding house is so good. It's just like they get to characterize every person that's living there, and they're also like all really interesting, and I love it so much. I always remember Mr. Wynn the most, I think, because of forcing them to do all of the chores, and especially like putting the tiles on his floor. Something about that always stuck in my mind, like having to redo it like 17 times or something. Just a really fun episode that shows like how to drive an episode with characters rather than the story.
Yeah, it's one that I did not revisit for this, but so I haven't seen it in a while. But I
didn't even make your top 23.
It didn't. It wasn't one that immediately came like to mind of like, gotta check that out. But I recall it being really fun.
And even just like the task of having to go collect all the rent and like not being able to get it from anyone. That's a great touch. Just so good.
Cool.
I like it. I have another baseball one. It's The Vacant Lot.
Sure.
Like I said, anytime they could romanticize baseball, I'm in.
Man, this truly stinks. Yeah, but what can we do? The older kids hog the park and the playground's closed after school.
If we had our own field, we can play where we want it, when we want it.
own field. That would be perfect.
We can call it Gerald Field.
Yeah, that's what we'll call it. Gerald Field.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that name.
Gerald Field.
Just say it.
Gerald Field.
Hey, listen. They have 3 baseball episodes of Arnold. So go nuts.
So the vacant lot is great. I love this one because it reminded me of growing up. We always tried to play sports, either football or baseball, in the streets, and having to move out of the way every time a car drove by, and how annoying that could be. And I just love that they found this trash heap of a lot, fixed it up, called it Gerald Field, which is a theme that I love, like everyone's just general respect of Gerald.
Yeah.
So much. And then obviously, the conflict where the adults stumble upon it and take advantage of it. And then the kids get all pissed off and then they wreck it up again. I don't know. It's a good culmination of imaginative childhood getting ruined by adults trying to be
Yeah. We
rulers of the world, I guess.
We talked about this on our 7th episode of the show. And we've brought it up a ton of times. There's a lot of like fun dynamics in this episode, like between the kids and the adults, even within the kids. It's a special episode.
Yeah, and I do love any episode that takes place like in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
They're out there just doing their kid thing.
Yeah.
So good. And something, about that, I'm sure we mentioned this, but the Gerald Field naming, just a classic line, but just that idea, like, let's call it Gerald Field, and he's just like, yeah, let's call it that. Like,
yeah.
It's this weird...
No hesitation. Loved it.
Yeah, I don't know if we would have been that gracious.
Yeah,
if Alan was like, let's call it Allen Field. It's like, what are you talking about? Definitely not. But they're good friends. Great. Vacant Lot is it's a special
classic.
One. Yeah. Well, that's a season 1. Let's stay in season 1. This is an episode I don't think we've ever talked about, maybe very rarely referenced, called Field Trip.
We went to the aquarium today.
Oh, the big house for fish.
And there's this really old turtle there.
Old, eh?
Yeah, and his shell's all covered with graffiti, and his water's dirty. The kids throw stuff at him.
And he's old.
Well, yeah, and sad and dirty, and his tank's too small.
And he's old.
Yeah, and he's...
Why,
wrinkled
this
and
is an
smells just like your
outrage.
grandma, and then he's...
Treating a wise old creature like he's some sort of common criminal.
I think they just...
Come on! There's not a moment to lose.
But
I said come on! We've got a mission to complete.
This is on a field trip to the aquarium. Arnold can't wait to see Lockjaw, the infamous terror of the deep. But Lockjaw turns out to be an old tortoise with a graffiti-covered shell, and he needs Arnold's help. And this is just one, I think maybe like, there's several like episodes of Arnold that is kind of like Arnold as the savior type, like he does the right thing in the face of everybody kind of doing the wrong thing. But this is maybe my favorite of them, where even though him and Grandma are like technically doing something illegal, I love the breakout, like getting Grandma involved, like this matters to me. I love animals. I love the message of the episode of like, you know what? No, like this isn't right. Let's try to save him. And it's very sentimental. It's that like perfect Arnold ending of like this like, ooh, man, what a beat of like releasing Lockjaw to the wild.
Yeah, it's a great episode. And I think what you said about him, he's doing the right thing, but they're doing something illegal.
Yeah.
I think that's like that's what they really nailed in these early episodes.
Yeah.
So that like Arnold is always sort of trying to do the right thing, but he's willing to take it a step further.
Yeah, the guidance in his life is like, well, if you want to save this turtle, there's only one way we're going to be able to do it. Yeah. And so yeah,
I love that the grandma was just down.
Yeah. Ski mask, like let's do it.
I also feel like she has some like, as usual, just like weird, hilarious lines.
Yeah.
that don't necessarily relate to what's happening, but like kind of do.
Yeah. I think this is episode 2 of the series, so really early.
Yeah, good pick.
It also has one of my favorite Hey Arnold tropes, I guess, which is a storytelling from Gerald.
Yeah.
And like how everyone just listens to him tell a story.
Yeah, gather around. Yeah.
Also, another nice looking episode that I think a lot of other shows would avoid doing because it requires a whole nother background setup.
Yeah. You know? Yeah, there are some of these episodes where I'm like, I cannot believe how committed they are to like creating a world.
Yes.
It's really impressive.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, field trip.
Nice.
Let's head to our top 3, Andrew. Number 3.
My number 3, we've already talked about it. Heat.
Oh yeah.
I love this. You know, I've praised this episode in the podcast episode that we talked about it on. But it really is such a great one. I was really paying attention to the backgrounds on this one, and man, they're so good. It's like you can just make out store names and everything, and they look great. Like it's almost like looks like colored pencil or something the way it's drawn.
Yeah.
And I think this episode really shows off the animation style of these early episodes, and this happened a lot of times with Nickelodeon and other like kids shows of the era, where it would start out a little bit rough, and then slowly like hone the animation style. But in doing so, especially with Hey Arnold, I feel like it loses some like slight just grittiness or whatever.
For sure. We've talked about it with Rugrats, which to me that's like the prime. Like I love that.
That's pretty
rawness.
Yeah, that's a huge shift.
Doug, even Doug.
Yeah.
Like not as drastic, I think, as those other two, but Doug has a little bit of a shift. But I really agree that like and there's a lot of great season 4 episodes, but the look of it is almost it's too polished.
Yeah. Especially when you're in like the city in this setting, it just feels so good. It like it's like you want it to feel. It feels like more real somehow, like more of a real life setting, or like a actual setting that's a real place.
One thing I wanted to bring up while I was thinking about season 4 that I think I forgot, because whenever I'm editing, I just always automatically use the first season theme song. But I forgot that the theme song had changed by the 4th. It's the same, but it's like different instrumentation. It's like way more keyboardy. Like it just sounds different, and it's not good. It's like, boy, you had magic.
Why would they change it?
It's kind of like the animation where it was like this beautiful kind of like pop jazz piece, and now they like really like try to make it too like.
It's like you're trying to make it too perfect.
Yeah.
Something you go overboard a little.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you get a little money in your pocket.
It's true.
Stop forgetting about the simple things. Which brings me to my number 3 episode. Mr. Wynn Goes Country.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's your money, Tex. Let's lay one down.
You can offer me a diamond-plated pearl. You can send me all the riches in the world. You can tell me
burn my house and steal my car. I just heard a brand new country western star. Yes!
Hilarious episode. The concept, great. I mean, Mr. Wynn, a Vietnamese immigrant who has a beautiful country western voice.
I mean, beautiful.
So good.
Yeah.
You got Gerald scheming to make money.
Yep.
You get Arnold kind of being like, I don't know about this, but
middleman
still goes along with it. The song is great and funny.
The simple things.
Yeah.
I think Craig Bartlett wrote it.
Wow.
He's actually like a pretty good guitar player and song.
Yeah, it's good. He struggles with his newfound fame.
Yeah.
He's uncomfortable about calling off work. at the restaurant that he loves working at his restaurant.
Yeah.
He loves living in this
These are real
boarding
problems.
house.
Yeah, these are real problems.
And he just doesn't care. He's just happy with the simple things.
Yeah. I love that moment in the studio when everybody's doubting that this guy is going to be able to turn something out. And that shot of the studio producer's like eyes bulging, like, whoa.
I also love in that scene when he walks into the recording booth and like bonks his head on the microphone, and the backing band just starts like cracking up. Like, oh, this guy, he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, that's a great one. That was also Shay's pick.
Oh,
nice.
Cool.
Yeah, her favorite.
Yeah, very memorable one. It's weird. Multiple shows did that same sort of setup. In addition to this, there was Rocko's Modern Life and Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah,
like both they were lounge singers, but similar. It's just kind of strange. I mean, it's a bizarre like setup for multiple shows to be like, we gotta do one of those.
When comedy works,
sure,
you stick with it.
Yeah, fish out of water. Yeah, it always kind of works. Cool. Well, my number 3 is not a season 1 episode. It is called Arnold Visits Arnie. Love it. love. This is one that I was really like, maybe it needs to be a little higher. It's the more I watch it, the more I love it. It's just so strange. This is where Arnold is going to go visit his cousin Arnie, who's kind of like a country kid, kind of strange, and there's like, it's like Bizarro Arnold, like there's all these kids who have names that sound almost exactly like Arnold's friends, and but like slightly bizarro parallels of like the kid being different.
Hi, Arnie.
Hey,
So, what have you been up to lately?
waiting for you.
Sorry, my bus was a little late.
23 minutes. I counted.
Anyway, I brought you some of these little packets of peanuts from the bus station vending machine. I know how much you like to read the ingredients.
Peanuts, cottonseed oil, salt. Let's go.
The way Arnie is drawn is just incredible. His sniffing is one of, I think, the funniest jokes in the series, of every scene just ending with him like taking this huge sniff. And I like the way it plays out. I like, from start to finish, it's just kind of a fun story. I don't know. It's a for Arnold even. It's a really kind of bizarre episode.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, Arnie looks really interesting. Really interesting design. Yeah, it wasn't like close to my top list, but I liked it. It's always been a memorable one.
Yeah.
It's not a Ferguson, that's for sure.
No. It's definitely
That's good.
not a Ferguson.
That's good. Oh, it can't be a Ferguson. It's just way too good.
Yeah. What season was it?
I think it's 4.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it was later than I would have thought.
3 or 4,
yeah. Well, my number 2, we did mention this. It's The List.
Finally, the weekend. Man, I thought it would never get here.
Boy, howdy. I'm gonna spend the whole Saturday morning watching cartoons. Yeah, well, I'm going to the park to play catch.
I'm gonna go have a birthday.
What are you doing, Arnold?
I'm doing it all.
Huh? What are you talking?
I'm doing it all. Everything on the list. Yep. The list for a kid's perfect Saturday.
The list? You're crazy, man.
No one's ever done the whole list before.
The list has been handed down from kid to kid for generations. It contains all things kids love to do on Saturday. Behold, the sacred document.
Another season 1. God, I love this episode. Another one I love. Especially as a kid, this might have been my top favorite episode. It just, like, really hit that perfect thing for me. Like, the idea of trying to create that perfect Saturday. I always did this as a kid where I'm like, okay, today it's going to be the best, this is my one day off of school a week, or 2, whatever. But this is going to be great. I'm going to do everything I want to do all week. And then, I ended up doing like nothing pretty much. But I loved the idea. So Arnold gets he gets it in him to try to complete the list of the best top Saturday for a kid. So he starts doing all the things, but like each one goes wrong in some different way. In some great way, really, like some really realistic way. And just to mention one of them, when he's riding down the hill on his bike, I love this so much. Like, finally, he's been through this whole day of difficult crap going wrong. He gets to the top, he's going to ride down the top of the highest hill in town. And he starts riding down, and he's flying, and then starts slowing down, and suddenly he's stuck in fresh asphalt. There's even, like, if in this scene, like, if you look close for a second, there's even other bikes stuck in there, like other kids got caught in there too. So good. And the end is so great. Grandma's trying to get this piano into the house all day, but it won't fit. And finally, at the end of the episode, Arnold's on the roof, and he's, like, depressed about the whole day going wrong, and Grandma suddenly gets lifted up by, like, a crane with the piano playing it.
Yeah.
And they do, great song they play, and it's just a really, like, touching kind of, like, ending. But it does what I love so much about these early Arnold episodes, which is, like, a lot of stuff, like, nothing going right, basically, but it's undercut with this, like, optimism, kind of, like, even with everything going wrong, it's okay.
Yeah, it's still a great day.
Yeah. This episode just, like, really gets me. It's another one where he's, like, going all around town and doing all this different stuff. Again, it's, like, not even so much a long story with, like, a lot of complicated beats. It's just, like, him going to each one of these places and things going wrong. Yeah, love it.
I love this episode. This was way higher on my list when I made my initial, like, here's what I think before I rewatched. It ended up at 20. So again,
that's just insane.
So again, we're 18 apart, which would tell me that, like, maybe Arnold Visits Arnie is, like, 21 for you. Or,
it could be something like that. Yeah.
But no, it is it's just like, and it's, like, got a great pace. It's,
Yeah.
it really moves. From our listeners, this was Mars' favorite episode.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah. All right, good pick. Number 2, Brett?
My number 2 is Grandpa's birthday.
Ooh.
And the premise of this episode is Grandpa is going to die on Saturday because he thinks that everyone in his family dies at the age of 81. And Saturday is his birthday, and it's just the family curse. And he just keeps making... He must make, like, 50 different, like, phrases about dying. Like... He never, like, repeats a phrase that he's going to die on Saturday, and it's really funny. Great scene where he doesn't want to eat his pancakes for breakfast because he's just not feeling it. And then Oscar says he'll eat it, and he just yells at Oscar. And he, like, gets up and leaves, and you can see Oscar, like, starting to go for the pancakes, and Grandpa bursts back in. He's like, hands off my pancakes! But my favorite line, probably from the series, is at the end of the day, Arnold's like, we had this great day, we did all these fun things, we can do this every day. And Grandpa's like, oh yeah, that's a great idea, except for I'm gonna croak at midnight! I don't know, I think about that line, like, oh yeah, it's a great idea, except for...
Man, I wish I would have rewatched this one now, because that is it's an excellent episode.
Yeah, really good. Great setup. I love that for an idea for an episode. Grandpa thinking that today he knows the day he's gonna die.
Oh, and I love when he's at the doctor and he's, like, hopping over things and, like, doing pull-ups, and then, like, walks over to the doctor holding his hip, like, so just give it to me straight, doc. I got what, a day left? And he's like, you're as strong as I live to be 150. And then at the end of the episode, when he finds out that it's 91 when everyone dies, he's like, let's go get some ice cream. The doctor, I'm gonna live forever.
Yeah, that's great. love it. Reminds me of a Twilight Zone episode, 50 Years Without Slumbering or something like that.
Yeah.
But this is better, I think, actually.
Wow.
Better
than a Twilight
better of use
Zone.
of the concept.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, great episode.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about my number 2. It's an episode that I don't know how we haven't talked about it. But it was Brett's number 3, I think, which is Mr. Win Goes Country.
Yeah.
Boy, this episode has it all. Mr. Win is a great character. I mean, high on my list. And yeah, the discovery of the hidden talent is so fun. You know, Filbert-esque in The Lounge Singer. Yeah. And I love his reluctance. Like, no, I have my life. I'm good with it. And but also his willingness to like just play along.
Yeah,
it's really fun. And then of course booking the huge country gig. I love it. I love him just. It's such a like baller move to like walk out onto the stage at the biggest moment of like your life and be like, this is the last time I'm gonna play this song. Like, I don't want to do this. While Gerald's like trying to mathematically figure how rich they're gonna be. There's a lot of laughs in this episode, and I think it's a really perfectly done musical episode. My only critique in rewatching it was that last minute when they're playing the full. It starts at the concert hall where he's playing the Simple Things, and then it cuts to the rooftop, which is, of course, I'm like ready to choke up. Like, what a great image! Arnold and Mr. Win on the roof with Mr. Win just playing the acoustic guitar singing. But it's the same 3 frames for like a minute, like because you could tell like they just maybe didn't have enough to animate it, so they go far away, Mr. Win, Arnold. I'm like, ooh, this is a long time to use these 3 frames, but the moment is so good that it's like I'll let it go here. Great episode. I would love to talk more about it, though I don't know if we need to now.
Yeah, wow. You guys both picked that one. That's kind of a surprise. I mean, I like it. It just didn't occur to me to put it on the list.
Country super fans over here.
Yeah. Well, that brings me to my number 1.
Ooh, let's get that
you
drum
know
roll.
It, but long-time listeners probably already know it by now. The vacant lot.
Vacant lot.
Yeah. I almost said the name wrong.
Well, there's only one thing to do at a time like this. Play ball!
Play ball!
Play ball!
Yeah, buddy, let's play ball! 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 Play ball!
Will you be quiet?
Yeah, just such an amazing episode. I feel like it really defines Arnold for me. Like, what makes the show so good. Hanging out with all the kids in the neighborhood and all the adults get in on this one. And I think, this episode has a little bit, but some of the episodes we've talked about, what I really like about these early ones is the, like, just little bit of meanness to them.
Oh, boy.
You know?
Mm-hmm. I wrote this down. What did I write? I said bullying and being an outsider is like a huge part of the show.
Yeah.
Really reoccurring of like kids just not really being super nice to each other.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, it's just enough to make the show, kind of. Like, it's a really important ingredient, I feel like, to keeping everything from being just like nice and perfect all the time. It's like, man, especially in this first season, they really know how to like bring the whole thing down, like down throughout the whole episode, and then not even make everything okay at the end, but like, I mean, make it okay, but not perfect.
Yeah.
Like, we've come to the conclusion, it's not like everything's fixed, but
here's
it's
2
pretty
baseballs
good.
and some meat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this episode, incredible. We have talked about it in detail. One little detail I noticed this time, though, right when they're coming up, when they're first talking about making a field, there's some graffiti on the wall, and one of them says, "Build it."
Ooh, that's cool.
Nice detail.
Very
These
nice.
backgrounds, man.
Very nice
killing
touch.
it in these early episodes. Anyway, just feels so good. And just as far as the spirit of being a kid, like this one really nails it. And having the idea of having that like space of your own to use, it just feels like magical. Yeah.
No doubt. Yeah. Just a special episode. And also Allie's, our friend Allie's favorite episode of Arnold. I don't know if it's still functioning. I haven't checked in a while, but I do know there was a Hey Arnold podcast, and the name of the podcast was The Vacant Lot. Haven't checked in on it. Great name. But it's out there if you want something Arnold centric. Yeah. As I guess we've covered a bunch of Arnold, but there's so much more, obviously, as detailed by this list.
Yeah, I should say every one of my episodes was from the first season. Wow. And I almost did one from a later season just because I didn't feel like right. But then at the end of the day, I was like, but I was rewatching them and they just felt so good. I couldn't not do it.
Is your close call season 1?
No.
Okay, great.
Actually.
Eager to find out. Brett, your number one?
So my number one, I've already talked about, so longtime listeners already know.
If you know, you know.
It's Pigeon Man.
The legend of the Pigeon Man has been handed down from kid generation to kid generation for as long as I can remember, which was about since I was 3. Take it away, Gerald.
In the Pet Shop District, there stands an old tenement, abandoned since the Great Fire of '69. After the fire, pigeons started gathering by the thousands on its charred roof. No one knew why, until one day someone saw a dark figure moving among the avian multitudes. For lo, alone on the roof of that 88th Street building lived a creature, half man and half bird, known only as Pigeon Man. Some say he was hatched from an egg and left by aliens. And he had a beak and a tail. Some say he survives by eating leaves, twigs, and worms. Some say he's a guy in a chicken suit, a lonely, deranged man wanting only birds for company. Who knows? I don't. But to this day, flocks of pigeons gather on the roof. And that can only mean that someone is caring for them. Someone known as Pigeon Man. The end.
I was going to be shocked if between 15 picks, because it's not my number one, and it was the most commonly picked amongst our listeners. Vaughn picked it, James, Brett Wilson, and Colin.
I mean, it's great. Love the name of the pigeons.
Mm-hmm.
Love that he has carrier pigeons that he sends messages to Gerald. Yeah. Gerald recognizes that the bird is sick. Like, that whole concept is hilarious. But obviously the overall theme where, like, some people are good and some people are just bad. And it's just this guy who can't live in that world where people exist.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't understand how people could be bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
And for, a 10-year-old watching this in 1996, it's like, what?
Yeah.
Like, you don't really think about people being bad. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I rewatched it. It's a heavy one. Yeah. It's heavy in that great Arnold way, but even a little heavier than that.
Sure. Yeah.
And great Gerald storytelling.
Oh yeah,
when he tells the tale of Pigeon Man.
Oh yes, storytelling.
And I love that where, like, Sid cues him up.
Yeah.
To tell the story, and at the end he's like, that's my boy.
Yeah.
Very good episode. Very singular as far as Nickelodeon shows go. It does feel heavy for a kid, but in a good way. Like in a, not too heavy to be appropriate. I don't think it's just like making you as a kid maybe think outside the box a little bit.
What do you think of that last shot of him floating away with the pigeons?
It's bizarre.
It's weird. It's a weird capper.
I don't really know whether. I think they just wanted him to have like a send-off line.
Yeah, rather than just leaving him on the roof.
And I also think that, like, someone had this hilarious idea of, like, he has this vest.
Yeah.
And, like, he can fly away. Like, but it got me thinking, Okay, so he's leaving the city that he's been at for decades now. But they make it seem like this is a common occurrence that he leaves. Like the birds just knew to all right, it's time to go.
Yeah.
Seemingly that's the first time he's ever left.
It's true.
So that didn't really make sense. But they masked that with the, always wash your berries and fly towards the sun.
Yeah, it feel like, again, it's another thing where I feel like they were probably like, we got to have something.
Something lighthearted.
Something big to like really nail this.
Because it happens right after he drops the whole people, Arnold. People did this. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Is everyone bad? Oh my God.
Gotta have a good send off for him.
Yeah, it's a great one. And like I said, it was tied for our listeners' favorite episode. 4 people picked that one. Personally, for me, it's my number 10. So it would be my top 10.
Oh.
It was tied with Arnold's Christmas.
Wow.
Ooh, that... I know
another tearjerker, which we discussed on the podcast. Tim, Ben, Nova, and Adventure USA all picked Arnold's Christmas, which would be my number 11.
Good to know. That is great. That's like both of these episodes are sort of ambitious. It feels like for a kids cartoon.
Yeah. Pigeon Man Arnold's Christmas is a full 30-minute episode, and it feels like Pigeon Man, if they wanted to, they could have really almost built it out.
Yeah, it happens pretty quickly. He's out of the top of the building at the pizza shop, and 10 seconds later the episode basically over.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I had a similar feeling about The Vacant Lot, where as I was watching it, I'm like, this is, like, at moments it feels so big. They really could have stretched out all of these things to a full length, like 90-minute movie if they had to.
Yeah.
It might even, I don't know. Anyway.
No, yeah. Well, very fitting that the last pick here will be the only episode that all 3 of us picked. Same as Andrew, same as Allie. My number 1 is The Vacant Lot.
Nice.
Whoa. Hey, man, why'd you stop? The lot, don't you see? So?
I think I found our baseball field.
You're a bold kid, Arnold. A bold kid.
I think it's probably the first Hey Arnold we episode reviewed for a reason. Probably the one we were most eager to talk about. We've talked a lot about that idea of, in your childhood, like found money, like finding something where you're like, well, this could be ours, and like, what can we do with it? And that feeling so special. And then like the friendship between Arnold and Gerald feeling, like it's a great showcase of it. This is the episode I think of. Like this, I guess, is the only one I was really not in danger. I played around with the thought of scooting Arnold Visits Arnie to 1. Wow. That's how much I love that one. But I couldn't. This is just like a seminal, great 90s Nickelodeon kids episode. And Arnold maybe doesn't get enough credit for being a great sports show.
Yeah.
I wrote down, we got Coach Wittenberg bowling episode. I mean, I rewatched that thing and I was like, is this gonna make my list? Because I love this episode. Vacant Lot, Dangerous Lumber, Mud Bowl is a bunch of fun. A lot of meanness in Mud Bowl, but the baseball, great one. Bench Warmer. God, I love bench. Another Coach Wittenberg. Pass the ball to Tucker.
That one's also funny when he is describing the basketball.
Yeah.
And like all of the bumps.
Yeah, that is great.
Pretty much anytime I'm holding a basketball for more than like a second, I look at it, I just think about him admiring the ball.
Yeah. So anyway, like kind of a sneaky good, any sports episode it has is like, oh, this is a good one.
Yeah.
And then maybe that's because it's so collective. Like, it has so many characters coming together that it's fun when they do that. Yeah. But Vacant Lot, if you've not watched that episode of Hey Arnold, I think there's a unanimous decision here that you should go check it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Before we get to our close calls, I'll share listener picks.
Oh, yeah.
Of things that have not been picked. Like I said, Pigeon Man and Arnold's Christmas were tied for the most picks. The following all had 3 people pick. My number 9, Stoop Kid.
Oh, of course, yeah. That was very close to mine.
Katie Miller and Joey, that's not me, also picked Stoop Kid. 3 people picked Downtown as Fruits, which also holds up great. Casey, The Lemonade Stand, and Joey Baseball.
Nice.
My number 8, Helga on the Couch. Katie Gord, Katie Manning, and the Up All Night Podcast picked that as their favorite. You like that
Which one is Helga on the Couch?
That's a full 30 minutes where the school's district psychiatrist comes.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. She finally admits her love for Arnold. My number 19, Haunted Train. Sean, Ryan, and Zachary Jackson Brown picked Haunted Train. 3 people picked What's Opera, Arnold. Vince, Karuna, and Amy. I'll like that one. My number 18, The Longest Monday. Silver Phoenix and
that was very
Emmanuel.
Close to mine. Great one.
Yeah, there's a good one. Another kind of bullying-centric episode, my number 7, so just missed my close call, Benchwarmer, picked by Josh. Alexandra picked Dangerous Lumber. Mike picked Door 16, which we've discussed on the podcast. Quincy picked Spelling Bee.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, one of the all-time classics.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That's a great one.
The only reason I probably have thought about Qualm at all ever.
Lacey picked Operation Ruthless, which is the A side to Vacant Lot. Yeah, great combo. Patrick picked The Headless Cabbie.
Nice.
Manny picked Mugged.
Nice.
Bubblegum Joey, a lot of Joeys, picked Harold's Kitten.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that.
Yeah. Sean picked an episode we've talked about, Arnold's Halloween.
Nice.
Dan picked the other part of Heat in Snow. And Matthew picked my number 15, The Flood. Or Flood.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah.
Before we move on from Snow, there's something I always think of from Snow. They got no play ethic. He's been saying they got no work ethic all episode.
Play ethic. All right, you want to do close calls?
Yeah. My close call, I think it's season 4. I didn't actually write it down, but it's Grand Prix. The go-kart episode where they're building their own go-karts.
Yeah.
This is where they have to team up with Eugene with the Mauve Avenger.
Oh, the Mauve Avenger, so good.
I watched this one yesterday. Very good.
I really love these whole class getting together episodes. It just feels so nice.
Boy, they're brutal with Eugene though.
They are brutal. It's like he can't help it, but everything does go wrong with him.
I think the definitive. I really toyed trying to get it higher, but I couldn't. But Roller Coaster, where they won't ride the roller coaster because they think Eugene's gonna. It does shut down. But Grand Prix is a bunch of fun.
Yeah, just a really fast-paced episode. Get to see all the characters, just great.
Yeah.
Well, I had 3.
Good.
Close calls.
Bring them all.
They've all sort of been talked about.
You could have done top 20 if you wanted. I should have said.
Snow.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Christmas episode. And Spelling Bee.
Oh, Spelling Bee.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, Qualm. It's so good.
Classics.
Also, just a Bob-heavy episode.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't really talked about Bob at all.
Yeah.
But another kind of great / junky character.
Yeah, very good.
Snow's great. I think it's hilarious that, there's just a big snow day and Grandpa's making Arnold do all this work around the house and he doesn't understand why he wants to go play, but then has that flashback
Yeah.
Of like when he wanted to go out and skate and stuff. So
yeah.
And I just love when he makes the ice rink.
Oh yeah.
Just turns on a whole bunch of water. And just calls out to the neighborhood that there's an ice rink. Oh.
It's wonderful.
What a time.
Yeah. Well, we've already talked about my close call. That was Brett's number 5. That is the baseball.
Ah,
love
nice.
it. As you said, it's just got a feel to it. It feels like, I mean, as a lover of baseball and going to baseball games, it feels authentic. But also that special moment of like something happening to you outside of what, like, it's cool that he got to go to Mickey Kaline's last game by itself, but then to catch the ball and then this commotion around catching the ball feels like really fun. And the only thing I can, like, I feel like I can deeply relate to this. I think I brought it up once before, but I got to play with Weezer. Played the Undone the Sweater song with Weezer, and then I got off stage and I went to hand the guitar to the guitar tech, and he's like, "No, it's yours." I'm like, what? He's like, "Yeah, you can keep the guitar. Great job." And so then it's weird because you're at this we're at an arena, and I'm holding this guitar. I'm sent back into the crowd holding a guitar, and like people immediately are like, you know, they know that I'm like the guy that just played up there, so like people are kind of swarming, like, "Whoa, can I see that guitar?" Like, cool. So like I thought this moment I was like thinking like, boy, yeah, like I kind of know what Arnold's going through here. Like everybody kind of like, yeah. Anyway, special episode. Love Mickey Kaline.
Yeah.
He's in a couple and he's always great.
Arnold just running through the stands.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
And the commentators are like, "Look at that. Oddly shaped head. Oh my God." Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I did want to mention one, just in case you guys mentioned it. I didn't want to say it, but one that we didn't talk about that's great is Arnold as Cupid. It is the one where Oscar gets kicked out of his apartment by his girlfriend, and he goes to live with Arnold, and he's just driving Arnold nuts. And, of course, one of the all-time most memorable Nickelodeon lines, "You keep the money." You keep the money.
Yeah, that's another first season, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Ferguson?
Yeah, there's two that I could think of that I feel like could be considered Fergusons, but I do want to note that I don't think there's actually a bad episode of Hey Arnold.
Yeah.
Even my Ferguson is not terrible. I kind of enjoy it.
Sure.
But I finally went with Phoebe's Little Problem. The episode where Phoebe accidentally farts into the microphone and she gets like so upset about it, and everybody has to like.
Oh, and everybody's super mean.
yes. But everybody like has to talk her back to coming to school, and it's not a terrible episode. It just feels like sort of a throwaway, like just sort of dumb fart. You know, I get it, and that could be traumatic somewhat, but it's a little melodramatic.
Yeah.
The reaction. So anyway, just kind of a goofball. It feels like a throwaway.
Yeah. Did you say you had another one or no?
I'll let you guys go, but
okay.
I'll mention it.
You don't have one, right?
No, I've decided I have. So again, like Andrew said, not any episode is bad, but I feel like this episode is not close to being my favorite for a couple of reasons. One, because it seems like it's the episode that everyone kind of gravitates to. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it was also that one episode that was always on. And I feel like every show has that one episode. It's not bad, but like every time you went to go watch it, it was that episode. And you're like, Stoop Kid again? Alright, I guess I'll watch it.
Wow, Stoop Kid.
Yeah, you know, it's good. Like, it's fine.
Yeah. I totally understand. Once you've seen almost anything that many times, can lose some of it.
Get home from school and Hey Arnold on. I was like, Steve Kid again.
Sure.
Like, how is this on again? There's no way we've gone through it.
It's
all
like
of the other episodes.
Like, I felt like this way about Dangerous Soup. Are You Afraid of the Dark? It was just, it felt like it was on every day, sort of, for a while there. But so I get it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Makes
that's fair.
sense.
That is fair. Well, I'm happy you nailed it because the Ferguson is Phoebe's. And I think maybe I think we kind of agree, but I think the definitive reason is that it's the last episode.
That's a issue. Yeah.
It's a huge issue. It's like, as you mentioned, it's just too throwaway. At least like in Doug's last episode, if you don't love Doug's bad trip, like Doug graduates feels like, well, this is a resolution.
Yeah.
And there's nothing about this that feels like this should be the last episode of an iconic animated series.
Yes, agreed. Just looking over the numbering from a couple different places, I suspect that maybe there was a bunch of episodes that were like leftovers that they didn't show until after what I think is, in my mind, is the end, is the journal when Arnold finds it. So I don't know that for sure, but I suspect this was a leftover.
They had like 4 or 5 episodes, and they're like, well,
yeah,
we made them.
Yeah.
Might as well just air them. I guess we have to number them.
Yeah.
So.
No, I mean, as you said, there isn't one necessarily that I watch that I go, I don't want to watch this one. So, like, that just feels like the easiest of, like, this is a little gimmicky, and unfortunately, the last episode.
Even watching it, though, I did have moments where I was like, is this the worst? So there were, like, a couple moments where I'm like, this feels okay, but...
Here's what I'll say. If you want a reason as to why, like, I think it doesn't work, is that resolution where Harold pees his pants.
Oh,
and then everybody laughs at him, and he runs out of the auditorium, like... I get it, it's Harold, but also, like, wasn't the whole point of the episode is to not do that? And, like, Phoebe's kind of laughing, too, at the end at Harold? I don't know.
Yes, also it felt very, the ending felt very contrived just to finish the episode. Give me something a little more thoughtful. I don't know, he could fart or something. Like, that would make more sense to me, but... The only other episode that was even in my head is, like, up for debate was, the one where Helga thinks she's a monkey, or she's turning into a monkey.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so bizarre, but at the same time, it's like, it feels like kind of action-packed and sort of good in its own way.
Yeah.
But it's weird.
A couple episodes we didn't shout out that I feel like maybe like should be shouted out. Das Subway, I feel like, is a pretty beloved episode. It's a kind of creepy, but not really, like fun kids stuck on the subway. Cool Party, I think, is one that is a lot of fun. A lot of great use of the kids, great moral. Four-Eyed Jack, I think, is kind of a classic grandpa telling a tale. Miss Perfect, I think, is one a lot of people like, where what's her name shows up.
Oh yeah, Lila.
Lila shows up. Thank you. Yeah, so just a couple that we didn't mention.
Yeah,
any others?
One more that I'll mention. Steely Phil.
Oh, Steely Phil, yeah.
Grandpa's playing Chinese checkers. Just a really memorable good one.
Yeah. Ooh, and Oscar Can't Read.
Oh, yeah.
Another great one. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Yeah, really good. All right, well, that's our favorite Arnolds. Thank you to those people who submitted your picks. If you disagree with us,
I
don't know what to tell you. I don't really want to hear about it, but it's fine. It's fine if you do.
I'll hear about it.
Okay.
The worse the disagreement, the better.
No, I just mean, and like, you're not going to change our minds necessarily.
Oh, sure. Well,
there's too many great Arnolds.
Yeah.
All right, well, a few emails here. We'll start off with our old buddy Brett, the other Brett, the artist Brett. He emailed us about the tale of the renegade virus. Feels good, doesn't it, just to hear the words?
Hear about it, yeah.
He said, "Hey there, Gutbucket. It's been a long time since I emailed you guys, but considering how enjoyable it was to listen to your Renegade Virus episode review, it felt right for me to chime in with my thoughts and feelings related. This tale looks and feels atypical of Gary's normal offerings around the campfire. Normally we expect to hear something magically mystifying from one of his whimsical yet cautionary tales, but this time we spun 180 degrees into the realm of technology, which honestly makes me think of why Gary hasn't told more tech-oriented tales during his tenure. Pinball Wizard sort of counts, but that's technically in a gray area between pinball machines and video games. Perhaps AOL wasn't fully on his radar yet and decided to stick with what he knows best. In terms of the directorial style here, it's classic Ron Oliver zaniness, but amplified to a whole new level. People often praise Ghastly Grinner for its memorable visuals and kooky nature, but I believe this one feels even more dramatic in its presentation due to the breakneck pacing, the snappy dialogue, and of course, Mr. Metalman himself, the Virus. Everything in this story feels over the top with a shiny veneer of twistedness, yet somehow the tale is in full control of this wild roller coaster, constantly keeping you guessing what will happen next, with a healthy dose of shock and dread at every corner. The episode feels as dingy as a basement keyboard warrior, and that's a strong feeling of the other 90s episodes. The other 90s episodes have replicated. It's creepily amazing. I remember the Virus himself was a terrifyingly haunting villain to witness when I was a young child. Those red-ringed eyes, those unbrushed teeth, that pulsating brain protruding from a black microchip-covered jumpsuit. It was all wrapped up in a menacing persona that would sear itself deep into anyone's subconscious mind. As a result, the episode caused me to have a lot of nightmares of him, where he would chase me down through labyrinthian cubicles to a dead end in a corner in a factory-style building where he would attempt to plug his nasty computer cable appendage into my own handboard. He may be small, but he's undoubtedly spry and agile. It drove me nuts to think what would happen if he infected my brain like he threatened to do to Simon. Where I would lose all control of my body and start terrorizing everyone I came in contact with while talking in a sinister growl and tacking Einstein to the end of every other sentence. Luckily that never happened, as the only VR headset I ever owned at the time was the Nintendo Virtual Boy, and there's no way any virus could do anything in that eyesore, except roam around a level or two of Warrior Land on that platform. He wraps up here saying, submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society. I call this story The Tale of the Virtual Forest. Yeah,
okay, pretty interesting.
As for the tale of the Renegade Virus, I'm with you on this one. It's strange how something I've been so afraid of for a good chunk of my life turned into something that I absolutely adore. My sentiments echo Joey and Andrew's analysis here. It's best to let go and let virus, which is a shirt I'd buy in a heartbeat. I give this episode a rating of 5 out of 5. Sorry, Gary, no BOC Pantheon for you, but in my mind, it's already there. Yours truly, Brett. P.S. All three of your new titles for the episode, regardless of outcome, were stellar. The Tale of the Combo Breaker, however, was too good to pass up for the 1994 Killer Instinct video game reference. Well played, Andrew.
Thank you. Yeah, really nice. Thoughtful. It's crazy. Maybe we said this during the episode, but it's crazy that that's got to be like one of the best technology-based episodes of anything, maybe.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, usually they're terrible.
Yeah.
So maybe the bar's not that high, but still, it's like bizarre that that's close to the top. This one comes from Kale. Quick 2001 thoughts. Hello from a basement's cool cement floor. Yeah, I'm glad you're still holding Chris's feet to the fire on that Steve Harvey pick. Like you guys, I was very into Undeclared. The Eric-centric episode toward the end of the run is great, but the show's in the running for worst DVD menu ever.
It's true. That's a bad DVD.
That Dandy Warhol's theme song is mixed so freaking loud, and it repeats every 10 seconds. I'm going to have to disagree with you on the Lone Gunman show. I like it, but it's in a tonal zone that would have worked better a few years later. It didn't have the weight of the X-Files, but wasn't an outright sitcom. They did a solid job making it more accessible for the mainstream audience by adding their sidekick. That choice smartly gave away for the gunman to share exposition with someone dumb while explaining it to the audience. Good point. A few episodes are really good, a few aren't. If you're ever looking to try one again, the series is up on YouTube, and I'd suggest the episode about a water-powered car called Like Water for Octane. By the way, Vince Gilligan, during his Breaking Bad era, claimed that the Lone Gunman show was his favorite thing he'd worked on. It just didn't have a chance to find its footing. Also, I have to give a shout out to Insomniac with Dave Attell, starting on Comedy Central in 2001.
Great job.
It might be the best travel show ever outside of Anthony Bourdain's shows. Just a funny comedian hanging out with weirdos. Oh, and I'm glad Wet Hot American Summer got some love. That's one of my favorite comedies of all time. Criminally underrated. When I first saw it, I was living near Waterville, where it was set. It being set there really surprised me. And for the record, I swear I've never hung out in a heroin den in Waterville. Laters, Kale. P.S. Joey, you'd mentioned The Clean before. I assume you've heard them, but if you haven't, you might like The Bats. They're also from New Zealand, had a shared band member, and we're on the same label. The album Couchmaster rules.
Oh, I know The Bats. Calm Before the Storm is one of my favorites. Yeah. Well, thank you, Kale.
Yeah, really nice.
Very nice. Last and very short one. This is from our finale.
Nice.
Who favorite episode is Vacant Lot. Good pick. She says, "Greetings and salutations, Joey and Andrew. Before I get to the reason I'm reaching out, while Joey is not exempt from scrutiny, I mean, Clifford is a good film." But I have to side with him that Best in Show is one of the greatest comedies of all time, and was honestly shocked when Andrew didn't express similar sentiments. Now that I've added to the debate, fellas, we fans have been good to you. I think we've earned another 15-episode review. What do you say? All the best, Allie.
Very good call.
Yeah.
I can't remember when the last one was now.
Last March?
Jeez.
21, yeah.
Okay.
It's been a long time. I think, listen, if I was being honest, we'd just do 15. They are, I think, usually easily our least listened to episodes. Yeah. And so it feels almost selfish. I mean, I think it's okay to do that once in a while, but like if people don't want to hear it,
sure.
It feels weird.
Though it does seem like the type of thing that over time people might pick up on.
It'll age well, hey. It'll age well.
Yeah. Like, did you know people were talking about 15 years ago now?
Yeah. Thank you, Alan.
Good call. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
You didn't like Best in Show?
I'm really surprised everybody loves it so much. I mean, I know it's held up as a great movie. It's got like 90+% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Mm-hmm. It's such a good concept.
It's a good concept. Love the concept.
And the execution's great.
That first half of the movie really does nothing.
Well, you have to get to know the characters.
Sort of. Do you really, though? Yes. Like, you get to know them pretty quickly just in, like, how they're acting. You know, it's like, I don't necessarily need all this time with them.
Oh, my gosh.
I just... You know, we've had all these shows now that are in that mockumentary style. I just feel like this is not hitting the mark anymore. Yeah, maybe back then it was like, this is brilliant.
Oh, it still holds. I know you watched it and don't necessarily agree, but...
I just don't get it. Sometimes I don't get something. And this is one of those things, I guess.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
What do you think is better, Best in Show or Bedazzled?
Oh, I mean, for me, Bedazzled is just a more important movie in my filmography.
More important.
Oh, man. That is incredible. All right. I'm so glad I asked. This was in context, though, because we were also talking about Bedazzled. Okay. Well, great. Great.
Yeah, okay. Fine.
What was the other one that we were like outraged at how low the score was on? By the way, Allie, I won't accept that Clifford slander. You slip that in.
I'll accept it. I mean,
yeah, okay. Oh, really? You don't like Clifford?
It's not that I don't like it. It's like, I totally understand how somebody would think it's the most
you look at me
insane
like a
thing
normal
they've ever
boy
seen.
for 1 second. Look, you can't even do it. All right. Andrew, okay, we got one episode before we take our annual month break to prepare for Podtober. What are we ending with?
We're going to end things off with the year in review, 2002.
Yeah. Steamrolling through this new millennium.
Yeah.
A lot of years to get to.
Yeah.
But I think that's those are hefty episodes. That'll be a nice one to lead people off take all month to listen to it.
Yeah.
We'll have a brand new guest on. He's been a long-time listener. His name's Clayton. So we're excited to have Clayton on and talk 2002. And I think we have our lineup set for Podtober, and that's going to be real exciting too, as always.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Not ready for the change of season, but ready for the change of time.
Never are.
Ready for that candy corn, ready for that pumpkin spice.
Oh, well, pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin spice is fine. Yeah, you said it.
Disgusting.
Agreed.
All right. In the meantime, if you want to get a hold of us, we're on Twitter at BOC Podcasts. Instagram's really where it's the best to get a hold of us, which is Orange Couch Podcast. You can email us like Brett, Kale, and Allie did at orangecouchpodcast@gmail.com. And you can find us on Podbean, you can find us on Spotify, and you can find us on Apple Podcasts. Thank you to our newest 5-star reviewers, AllieMe038507, with the title "Wow!" ! And our buddy Manny left us a nice 5-star review saying, "Great nostalgic experience." We've breached the 200 review mark on Apple Podcasts. So is breached the right word?
Yeah.
Okay, great. We've done it. We've passed it. Keep adding on. That helps people find us. And speaking of help, Brett, 2 episodes in a row, and
I'm all talked out.
Quite a guy.
He's like, 2002 is not happening, guys. But we appreciate it.
Yeah. We'll see all you Mauve Avengers next time.
Poor Arnold, his first was unfinished. What let everyone who was there know? A very loud C-sharp diminished. Somebody said, "Look, it's Arnold!" And he ran from their scorn and their laughter into the darkness outside, and never returned ever after. Tales of lost love and dreams unfulfilled. Oh, cruel Cupid, you've never been meaner. He was an armadillo. She was a concertina. He was an armadillo. She was a concertina.
WART Ward Radio, Wellsville.
I don't know what to do. Oh.
You didn't like Best in Show?